Hello friends, this is Ifa. Welcome back to my channel. This video is all about my June bullet journal setup for 2024, and I'm very excited to share this very random and summary theme for the next month. I think this is the most random theme that I'm going to do without any proper sketches, and I think the outcome is pretty good than what I've thought. So let's begin with the cover page. For the cover page, I am going to start with this water lily pads or water lily leaves. I randomly sketched this out of my idea. I don't know what should I do for coloring this out because I didn't do too much research while making this illustration. So bear in mind that you can color that as you want. So here, to make it more leafy, I'm using this technique that I'm just pointing a center here, and then I'm making some strokes from the outer corner of the leaves to the inner center point. If you have seen the water lily pad, they have their stem in the center of the leaves, and I was kind of trying to make that thing here. So I really didn't want to make this illustration too much artistic, so I am just going with a very rough sketch, as you can see here. And I think I'm using the Tombow brush pen in shade 192, which is an asparagus color, and I think I've been using this color a lot. While coloring these leaves, I have decided not to go with any kind of black pens into these illustrations. So my target is to color them with the lighter shades, and then I will use some darker shade to outline every elements here. As you can see here, there is a frog from the top view. I know this doesn't look like an actual frog, but I hope it looks like a frog. Then I also added a canoe or a boat koi fish in the top left, and these koi fishes are not so ideal, I know, but I tried my best. And for this whole pond, I wanted to give it a very light background with this lightest shade that I have. For the water bubbles, I really didn't thought to add any kind of white marker or white gel pen into this because I wanted to make this illustration more simpler, but it definitely doesn't look quite like water bubbles here. After coloring out all of these elements, it's the time to outlining everything with darker pens. And here I'm using this darker green pen. For the Tombow brush pen, they have two types of ends. One is the fine liner, so I'm just using that fine liner tip to draw out all of these outlines. For the shadows for each element in the pond, I'm using a bit darker color than the water color that I've used. As you can see here, for the shadows of those water bubbles, I've used a very dark blue pen, and I believe in between these two blues I don't have any other blue which is more like greenish or teal color, so I had to use this. And to muted out this color, I have used this white gel pen, and I think it looks quite nice after using the white gel pen to muted out this darker color. After making the whole illustration, I was convinced that it doesn't look pretty good, so I've gone with my white Sakura Jelly Roll pen to add more dimensions and more details into this illustration. For the header, as you can see here, I'm using this pale orange color, but I don't like this at all. So here is my trick to cover them up, is to use my own planner sticker from my shop. If you don't have this kind of stickers, you can use any kind of paper and write your title, cut them out, then stick it on the top of your mistake or the part you don't like. After making the printables for Patreon, I believe that I don't like my cover page, so I'm going to change it a little bit. I have decided to go with the white lines for the water bubbles. So here I'm coloring the water bed with the same blue color. As I'm using multiple strokes here, it's giving me more darker shade of this blue, and later where I have colored the water bubbles, I'm just adding all of these lines. Where I've added all of the lines for the water bubbles with this blue color, I'm going with the Posca marker, which is basically an acrylic paint pen. So I'm going to use this for creating this water bubble shade, and I believe it looks more like an water than before after doing this step. I think it looks much more like water now. So yeah, that's it for my cover page, and I believe this looks pretty good after doing this step. The notebook I'm using here is basically from an eco-friendly company called Bujo. I really love their notebooks and I've been using their notebooks since January, but I have used another notebook in 2022 as well. I think that this notebook has a pretty good paper to use watercolors, but I think if I use too much watery marker pens, it's used to be bleed a little, but this time I found that this paper can resist that, and I'm very happy about it. That's it for the cover page, and the next page is my monthly log, which is basically a calendar page, and I'm going to make this besides my cover page. This month I need a little more space from the last month, so I'm going to do a horizontal calendar layout in one page. Here's the reason to make this kind of spreads, which is if I don't need too much spaces for the calendar page, I used this kind of layout so that it gives me little more space than the one page vertical calendars. So yeah, and I think I didn't want to use any kind of black pen here, but for the titles I'm going to go with the black pens to make it more bolder. Here for the calendar layout, I have gone with 4x5 grid space for each box for each day, and I didn't end up making this whole spread looks like a box so that it looks not too structured. Here I am writing the names of the days. I always start from Sunday because in my country we consider Friday and Saturday as the weekends, so the weekdays starts from Sunday, and I made a mistake here. So for the covering up the mistake, I'm going to use the same paper from this notebook, and I've glued them with a glue stick. So that's it, and it's not too much to do. To cover up the spaces of these calendars which are not going to be used for this month, I'm drawing out these little lily pads to cover up the space so that it doesn't look too empty and it looks more cohesive as well. So that's it for this page, and it's very minimal, and I didn't have to sketch it properly before I make it, so I'm very proud of it. So that's it for both of my cover and calendar page, which is starting off my bullet journal setup. And the next spread I'm going to working on is going to be my tracker spread, where we'll add 3 trackers each. So for the illustration of this tracker spread, I'm going to make this little illustration, which is going to be a top view of a little pond. And it's the same technique that I was doing in my cover page, but this time I don't have any sketches properly done, so I'm going to go with very thin strokes and without any thoughts, because I really didn't have too much time to do this thing, as I haven't done any proper research or sketchings. It kinda look more new. It looks very easy and not too perfect. I'm not confident with all of the mediums that I always use, so I think that's fine. And for our bullet journals, we don't have to be too much perfect. So we just need some artistic mind to look at this kind of shabby illustrations and feel proud of ourselves. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, here as you can see that I am making this illustration very simple with 2 lily pads and 1 water lily. So that's it for the illustration. And for the first tracker on this page is my mood tracker. I didn't want to make a very heavy mood tracker that I've been doing for 2 years now, so I'm making a mini version of it, and there are 30 boxes so that I can color the boxes according to my mood. And I'm not going to add labels of the days here so that it doesn't look too much on this spread. And for the mood tracker, I'm going to use 4 notations, which is basically okay, happy, sad, and angry. Underneath the mood tracker, I'm going to use the space for my workout tracker. I've been making workout trackers for such a long time, but I really don't think that I'm doing pretty well. So this time I'm going to give me another chance so that I can do a proper workout with a challenge that I have in my mind. So yeah, that's it. And for the workout tracker, I'm not going to fill up those because my plan is not ready yet. And this is a very simple layout with all of the dates. And here I've marked out the weekends as well so that I can count the weeks and also the breaks from my workout. The next tracker I'm going to make is my habit tracker. Before that, I'm using some washi tapes that I have to fill out the empty spaces and make it look more cohesive with the colors. As you can see here, I'm using this muted green grid washi tape, which I've got from Personal Planner, and this very light blue colored washi tape from StationeryPal. The blue washi tape doesn't have too much stickiness underneath, so I'm using these little leaf stickers from Ikigai Papier. I think that's it for this mood tracker. Besides that, I've also added a note space because I wanted to use this note space to remind me anything that I'm going to track for this month. For this habit tracker, I'm going to go with 6 habits this time, and this layout is the same as my previous layouts for a long time if I make this kind of larger habit trackers. I don't like this orange tracker because I've mixed it with the chrome yellow color and it looks unusual, so I'll fix this with a separate paper. And I know that paper is going to look odd here, but I don't have anything to do because this color was knocking my head multiple times that change it. So yeah, I hope that makes sense because sometimes we don't plan properly and it turns something that we don't want, but as we have some techniques to cover up our mistakes. Anyways, I've talked too much about it. So the illustration I'm making for this habit tracker is going to be a scenario of some lily pads underneath the water, and I tried to make it looks like these lily pads are floating in the top of the water and we are watching this scene from underneath the water. I think after adding these shadows it looks pretty good. So that's it for this habit tracker, and the next spread I'm going to make is my content planner and a planning spread. So basically my content planners are very simple, where I just make vertical calendars. I always mark down my weekends and also the day I want to target for uploading my YouTube videos, such as Sunday. I always try to upload Sunday, but it seems like for lack of time I always put them in Tuesday. So yeah. My content planner is going to be very simple. There's not going to be too much illustration here, and I'm using some washi tapes to decorate the empty spaces and to structure out that space. For the header style, I have gone with a very simple monoline calligraphy font. For the illustration I'm going to go with is the same as the illustration that I've made in my habit tracker, and this time I've also added this little water lily in pink color, but I don't think that it looks too good and I didn't want to correct it, and that's it. I didn't even think too much about it because I just wanted to use this spread properly, not concentrating on the illustration for now because I was running out of time. And that's it. I believe it's very random, and I think you can do it if you're not good at illustrations. So yeah. So for the planning spread is going to be basically for my shop planning or any other task planning, like making printables or something different, because I always lack planning spreads when I make my bullet journals. So I always try to add any kind of space. If I don't, then I had to place a separate spread for this. So this time I don't want that, and I want to include this in this setup. And if you don't need any planning spread or content planner, you can make this as your study schedule or your work schedule, and also you can plan out your tasks or use this planning spread as a brain dump spread. So for the content planner, I also add this little mini calendar stickers from my shop, because I think I need to mark out all of those dates where I'm going to post for my YouTube and Instagram. So yeah. So that's it for the planning spreads, and the next spread I'm going to make is the last spread from this bullet journal setup, which is my weekly planner. For my weekly planner this time, I'm making this time blocking spread, which I've shared as a short or a reel on my socials. So this time I'm going to use the same technique, and here, as you can see, I'm spacing out 7 boxes, 7 grids each for each day, and here I'm adding the time blocks in both of the right and left side of the pages of this layout. And here my idea is to add all of the times that I'm productive on or work on, and this time block is not a very structured in a sense, because as you can see here, there are some spaces for every hour and there are some larger spaces for different hours. Basically, when I think I am very productive or do my chores very quickly, I always have to space out those hours large. And I'm using the week of this day stickers for the headers here, and for the dates I'm using this lightest blue color to mark out all of the numbers. So for the decorations of this illustration, I'm going to add some water lily pads and some little illustrations here, as you can see, and I'm not going to go with too much for these illustrations because I don't want too much colors into this spread, because I'm just liking the blues and greens here. And also I spaced out some spaces for the general tasks for this week and the works that I'm going to do for my shop. And I didn't label it as shop work because I don't want to write, but I wanted to use the stickers that I've already have. And that's it for this simple weekly spread as well. And I believe this whole theme is going to be very simple and beginner friendly if anyone wants to make it, even though there are a lot of things going on the cover page and the layouts is pretty messy, but I think it do the job. That's it for this whole setup. I hope you like this video, because this video is going to be very random and I don't feel too much confident about this whole setup, and I don't think that I'm going to hate it because this is something different that I haven't done for quite a long time. And this reminds me of my 2017's bullet journals, which were pretty imperfect, and those bullet journals were very different from my current bullet journals. So yeah, I hope you like this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, and I hope I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.